So if you've ever thought about travelling to Cambodia, but found yourself wondering, is it actually safe? Then you're definitely not alone, because the stereotypes for Cambodia doesn't do it any favours at all. I mean, when I told people I was first moving to Cambodia, their first question was, is it safe? And I think that's largely because the image of Cambodia worldwide isn't really the best. I mean, it has terrible PR. So let me actually break it down for you, starting with, so when it comes to petty crimes, your biggest enemy isn't going to be some action movie type villain. Realistically, it's a guy on a scooter with excellent hand-eye coordination. Petty crime is probably the main thing tourists deal with when here, especially in busy places like Phnom Penh and parts of Siem Reap, if you read all the headlines. So as for the petty crimes themselves, think phone snatching, bag grabs, pickpocketing, basically crimes committed by people who treat your backpack like it's a limited one-time offer. The classic move is you're casually walking down the street, filming yourself like every other travel influencer perhaps, holding your phone out like it's Simba in The Lion King, and then suddenly a motorbike zooms past and congratulations, your iPhone now has a new owner. The same goes for the bags. If you're sitting in a tuk-tuk with your handbag hanging off the side, like it's in a fashion shoot, maybe someone will just see that as a free delivery service. But the solution is simple. Don't flash valuables, keep your phone on the inside of the sidewalk, wear your bag across your body, and maybe don't carry your entire life savings in just one backpack. Basically, use normal city common sense. If you wouldn't do it in London, Paris, or your local supermarket in the car park at 2 AM, maybe don't do it here either. Cambodia is not uniquely dangerous, it just rewards people who pay attention and punishes people who walk around looking like a human ATM. Now, walking around Cambodia can feel less like sightseeing and more like being selected for the Hunger Games. I mean, the sidewalks, sometimes they exist, sometimes they're full of parked motorbikes, food stalls, construction materials, or even a man casually fixing an entire engine. The sidewalks here are less for walking and more for a philosophical discussion, like what even is a sidewalk? So naturally you end up walking in the road, and that's where things get exciting. Traffic in places like Phnom Penh operate on a beautiful system called vibes. Lanes are more of a suggestion, traffic lights are an opinion, and everyone seems to believe eye contact is a legally binding road agreement. So crossing the street becomes an art form. You do not run, you do not panic, you simply step forward slowly, confidently, like you've accepted your fate and made peace with your ancestors. And the motorbikes and tuk-tuks themselves will usually flow around you like water. Usually is the key word there. The key is to stay predictable. If you stop suddenly, sprint, or start doing panic dance moves in the middle of the traffic, that's when everyone gets nervous. Plus, this is mostly a thing in the capital Phnom Penh because it is a big city, or at least has the big city vibe anyway. So yes, walking the streets is safe if you remain calm, stay aware, and temporarily evolve into someone with the street crossing confidence of the local grandmother here, because they seem to have mastered this craft. Now, the stereotype that there's no rules or laws, and you can do whatever you want because it's a complete free-for-all, is a big one. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely less red tape, more relaxed enforcement of certain rules, because it's not uncommon you'll see 4 people all on one motorbike, or someone transporting an entire fridge on a small scooter, or even a tuk-tuk making a left turn from what appears to be from another dimension altogether. Even everyday things can feel wonderfully lawless. From a street vendor grilling mystery meat next to a guy wielding something who's next to a barber shop that's also next to 3 chickens having what looks like a full-on business meeting, and somehow it works. There's a strange beauty to it. It may look chaotic, but locals understand the rhythm. It's just you when you're the one left standing there, looking like an Excel spreadsheet crash in real life. But the important thing is not to mistake different for dangerous. Cambodia runs on local logic, and once you stop expecting to work like home, it starts making a weird amount of sense. Plus, you should still follow the laws and behave yourself. It's not a complete free-for-all, and when you compare it to Thailand, it might seem lawless, but I think that's just because the comparison is getting a bit more stricter. I mean, it actually seems like all the countries nearby Cambodia are getting stricter, so I'm sure Cambodia's time will come, one day, it's just not today. Right, so let's address the nickname some travellers love to throw around, Scambodia. First of all, how rude. Second of all, yes, some tourists arrive in Cambodia, get overcharged for a tuk-tuk, or they may even buy a designer watch that was definitely designed by someone in their garage, and then they suddenly act like they've uncovered an international conspiracy. But relax, Sherlock. And like many tourist-heavy countries, Cambodia has its fair share of small scams, inflated prices, overly friendly strangers with suspiciously specific recommendations, tuk-tuk drivers who know a really good shop where their cousin just so happens to work at, and also the classic "this attraction is closed today" scam. And spoiler, it definitely isn't closed. The trick is understanding the difference being scammed and simply not asking the price beforehand. If you jump into a tuk-tuk and say "take me anywhere" and end up paying triple, that's less of an organised crime and more of an expensive life lesson. And expensive out here is not the same as it is in the West anyway. Most scams here are low level, annoying, and designed to separate you from $20, but not your kidneys. And honestly, once you've travelled enough, getting mildly scammed becomes less of a tragedy, and more of a rite of passage. Think of it like a backpacker character development, if you really want to try justify it. Scambodia is the famous nickname given to Cambodia because of its reputation. The real danger is not losing money, it's becoming a person who comes home and says, Cambodia is just one giant scam, because that guy was definitely sold fake Ray-Bans for $12 and he's still mad about it. And another thing people will say is that there's scam call centres, which, yes, in the Chinese gangster city in the south there are some. But what people forget to mention is that there's scam call centres in the same countries nearby. Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Philippines. I mean, it's an issue in this part of the world, not just Cambodia. So just to single out Cambodia on this one isn't really fair, and tourists themselves are not usually directly targeted, so just be cautious with any job offers from strangers that may offer a very high salary, because if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is, especially in this case. So yes, stay alert, use common sense, confirm prices beforehand, and if you don't feel 100% confident, just politely say no. And maybe, just maybe, don't rename an entire country because you bought an overpriced mango from a random guy on the streets one time. Now, the Thai border conflict also doesn't help with the overall situation. I mean, millions of people across both sides of the border had to be moved for safety reasons. But outside the border zone, life has carried on as normal. I was here in Cambodia last year when tensions were a lot higher than they are now, and in Siem Reap everyday life was the same. As long as you steer clear of the border towns near the conflict, you'll be able to enjoy life as normal, because most visitors are heading towards Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Kampot, the Koh Rong Islands, and those places you're not even able to casually wander yourself into the disputed border zone. They're quite far away from all the main tourist routes, so unless your vacation plans include hiking directly into military-sensitive jungle area while yelling "I wonder what this fence means," you'll probably be fine. This is one of those things that sounds terrifying online, but rarely affects someone trying to get to their brunch. For example, I mean, for most tourists, the biggest conflict you'll be facing here is deciding whether to order another iced coffee or not. And another thing to note here is the wild dogs, because yes, there are some here just like Thailand, but when comparing the two, Thailand's wild dogs can be a challenge when you're walking down certain roads, because they've absolutely claimed them. But what I've noticed here, the dogs are far more chill, and most of them seem to be looked after by the locals and maybe tourists. And maybe because of that is the reason they're more chill. I mean, I'm happy to say so far, I haven't seen the aftermath of an intense dogfight, unlike in Thailand, which I've seen many times, and it's never the nicest thing to see either. So hopefully my experience is the norm here, especially in Siem Reap. The wild dogs don't act like true wild dogs, like they do in Thailand. So I think it's fair to say the chance of being bitten is a lot lower. Actually, the only dogs that have even barked at me aren't even the true wild dogs. They're clearly someone's pet who's just guarding their home, so you can't really blame them. And all they do is bark at you when you walk past anyway. Also, maybe don't attempt to pet every dog, just because you've watched one wholesome travel vlog and now think you're the dog whisperer of Southeast Asia. Because yes, some are friendly, but also at the same time, some aren't. So as for the main question of today's video, is Cambodia actually safe right now? I say yes it is. I mean, I feel absolutely safe here, and honestly just use some common sense and you'll be fine. And I'll still stand by the fact that I feel much safer to walk down the streets here at night than pretty much any major city in England. And I still don't put that to the test too much here, because I like getting up early most days anyway. But on the off chance I do put it to the test and find myself wandering the streets at night, everyone is super friendly, and I don't walk down any dodgy alleys, remember. Common sense really does go a long way. So apart from the army of mosquitoes, flies or ants that are almost everywhere, but admittedly they can be avoided or dealt with using a spray, you'll be fine here in Cambodia. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.